Hello and welcome to the Beef Age, the Teagasc Beef Podcast, for all your latest news, information and advice for Irish beef farmers. I'm Catherine Egan, and on this week's episode, I'm joined by Michael McManus, manager of the Derrypatrick herd at Teagasc Grange. I first asked Michael for an update on the farm and what has been happening since he featured in the Teagasc Virtual Beef Week.
So to give you some background on the Derrypatrick, Derrypatrick herd, it's a suckler to beef research demonstration farm with a land block of around 65 hectares, bringing all progeny through to slaughter. So since I've been talking to you last there in the spring, we calved 105 cows and we had 110 live calves in an 11-week calving season. Then we went on into the breeding season, which went quite well this year. It lasted for 9 weeks. This was to reduce the length of the calving period next year. So we were hoping to calve for around 10 weeks next year rather than 12 to 13 weeks in previous years. So after the 9 weeks of 100% AI, 89% of the cows and heifers were in calf, with 2 heifers non-calf. So we were quite happy with the results from the 100% AI there.
Most definitely, and having 100% AI and 89% of the cows in calf is a great result. Have you started weaning calves yet, Michael, or how will you carry this out?
No, so we haven't started weaning yet, but I intend to wean the cull cows or the empty cows in the coming week. This is to try and build grass cover. The way we carry out the weaning is, if we have a group of 21 cows, we'll remove 7 cows on the Monday, 7 cows on the Wednesday, and the remaining 7 cows on the Friday. So on the week, we'll have the full group of cows and calves weaned. We find by staggering the removal of the cows, it reduces stress levels on the calves. The cows will be put indoors for around a week until they are dried off, and then we'll offer them a mix of straw and some silage, and then they'll be returned to grass after they've dried up. They'll return to grass and they will be returned to grass, and then to clean out the paddocks after the calves. So the calves have been castrated about a month ago, and they've received their pre-weaning booster shot for IBR pneumonia, so they're ready for weaning from any time on now. We usually wean around the first week in October, weather and grass supply dependent. The target weaning for the heifers would usually be around the 290 kilos, and the bull calves somewhere around the 310 kilos. So on the last, for our last time we weighed them in September there, the calves were averaging around 260 kilos for both the bulls and the heifers, with an average daily gain of around 1.2 kilos since birth. So they're at the minute there, the calves are creek grazing ahead of the cows, and they're receiving a kilo of meal as part of the BBS scheme. We generally wouldn't feed a meal 1 month before weaning, but this should help the weaning process and make it easier this year, hopefully. Yeah.
Hopefully it will. What happens to weanings now post-weaning?
So they'll remain in their group, and we'll offer them best quality grass available to them. So they'll be entering covers around 1,400 kilos of dry matter per hectare, and we'll offer them around 2 kilos of meal per head per day. They'll remain at grass until mid-November, and that'll be all weather dependent as well.
You mentioned that 89% of the cows were in calf and that the empty cull cows will be weaned first. What is the plan for the empty cull cows?
We'll house them and feed them straw and silage for the first week. Then once they're dried off, they'll be built up to around 5 kilos of concentrates, and they'll have access to high quality silage, maybe 72 DMD silage, and we'll hopefully finish them once we get a good cover on them, and we'll finish them in 6 weeks' time. Yeah.
Michael, back in July, you mentioned how you were impacted by the drought from March to June. How have things been going grass-wise on the farm since?
Yeah, so since the drought has been a good year for grass, we got 2 crops of silage, 1 cut in mid-May. We'll be targeting to feed this to weanlings and finishing cattle, and we took the 2nd cut in the middle of July, which will be fed to the cows. The silage has been sent away for testing, and we're just awaiting results there at the minute. For the first cut silage, I suppose we'll be expecting DMD somewhere around 72 DMD plus, and for the 2nd cut, anywhere from 68 to 70 DMD, and that'll be, as I was saying, it'll be targeted for the cows. So once we got the 2nd cut in this year, it freed up a lot of land for us, which then allowed us to reseed 16 acres there in the middle of August. So last year we didn't get to reseed any land at all, just due to the high stocking rate. But this year we got the silage in earlier, and it suited well. So that 16 acres was sprayed last week with post-emergent spray. So it's doing well, and we may get a graze out of it next month with some weanlings, weather permitting. They're currently, at the minute, we have a farm cover of around 870 kilos of dry matter per hectare. So last week we'd have growth of 57 kilos and a demand of 33. So I'd expect the grass growth to be reducing from now on. So by weaning the empty cows, it'll reduce our demand, and we should be able to build further cover, which will be needed into the back end there.
You often refer to the importance of having grass available in the spring when cows are calved and turned out, and that goes back to your high percentage in-calf rate. Can you talk me through your plan of closing up paddocks in the coming weeks?
Yeah, so we'll be starting to close paddocks maybe around the first week in October. Generally try and close off paddocks which have a good shelter and are well fenced for young calves. Just so for calves to be turned out in the spring. So we'll probably start grazing them paddocks from the first week in October with the calves, with the weanlings, I should say. Then they'll be cleaned out with the cows coming on to the 7th or 8th of October, and they'll be closed up for the winter. So the target would be with ourselves to have by the 1st of November to have 60% of the farm grazed by the 1st of November, and then before closing the farm, and to graze the remaining 40% before the end of November. So they're some of the targets that we're putting in place, and I think it's quite important to close up early to have your grass in March when you do need it, when you tell out your cows and calves.
What is the plan for finishing cattle, and how do they perform at grass over the summer?
Quite happy with their performance over the summer this year now, with the heifers achieving an average daily gain of about 0.9 of a kilo a day, while the bullocks average 1.1 kilos a day from, say, mid-April until September. Say at the minute there, all beef cattle are housed and farming, hoping to target to finish the heifers in December at 20 months of age, and all the bullocks will be finished under 24 months. We have 25 bullocks there at the minute, which are currently around 620 kilos on average, and they're being fed 4 kilos a meal, and this will be up to 5 kilos, and they'll be up to 5 kilos in the coming weeks, and we'll be finishing them in December, with the remaining bullocks finished in January and February. The heifers are currently on 3 kilos and we built up to 5 kilos over the coming weeks, and let's say but towards the end of October we'll be starting to draft some of the early maturing heifers. So for example, last year now the bullocks averaged 378 kilos with a confirmation average of an R plus, and the heifers averaged 328 kilos also with a confirmation of an R plus. So we'd be hoping for something similar this year now. So we'll be hoping for something similar, as I was saying there, yeah.
And what is the plan in the coming weeks on the farm in relation to the herd health?
All finished cattle, when housed, are clipped, and the fecal leg sample is taken based on them results, we'll be dosing accordingly. Depending on when their slaughter date, we'll be also doing some of them for lice. We'll be keeping an eye on them. If they're scratching, they'll be done for lice, and we also keep an eye on the withdrawal date on that product, because it's something we don't want to get caught having to hold an animal for 2 or 3 weeks extra if we haven't kept an eye on the withdrawal. So there'll be some of the things we'll be doing with the beef cattle there now at the minute. So on the cows and replacement heifers have been vaccinated this month for salmonella. And the calves have received their, as I was saying earlier, their pneumonia and IBR pre-weaning booster. So no, that at the minute that's where we're at. We have a lot of the jobs tightened up now. It's just a matter of waiting to get to wean the calves.
Most definitely, withdrawal dates would be a key thing for you to focus on, especially finishing cattle in the coming weeks and months. That's all for this week's episode, and thanks to Michael for joining me on the show.
Thanks, Catherine.
That's all for this week's episode, and my thanks to Michael for joining me on the show. You can catch up on all other shows and interviews from the Beef Edge podcast on the Teagasc website at teagasc.ie, or you can listen on Apple and Google podcasts as well as Spotify. Don't forget to rate, review and subscribe so you never miss a show. For all other updates from our beef programme, keep an eye on our Twitter and Facebook pages. Until next time, I'm Catherine Egan, and thanks for listening.